Gowinski's here. We can get started. Hey, Tom, how you doing? Wasn't it nice to ride in this morning and see those beautiful trees lit up out there to celebrate Christmas? And, you know, some good times ahead, we hope. 2020 is about to end, we think, and move forward into 2021. Appreciate everybody coming out and joining us this morning for our Greater Blythewood Chamber of Commerce breakfast. If you would, please stand for the invocation and pledge. Our Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for the many blessings that you continue to shower down on us here in Blythewood, in our homes and in our businesses. We pray that you will continue to do that. We pray for healing in our nation, in our towns and communities, so that we can move forward into a new year with hope and bright eyes. Thank you for this chamber and all that it does for the businesses in our community. Continue to bless us and bless this food to the nourishment of our bodies, and for us to go out and serve you and glorify you. In your name we pray. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, you can go back to telling lies. You've been blessed. Like to recognize our sponsors this morning. First up is the eminent Joe Bernard with Providence, who is our premier sponsor this morning. Thank you, Joe. The select sponsor this morning is me. This is what you get. Actually, I am proud to say that I have worked with First Community Bank here in the Midlands market since 2003. It's kind of the twilight of my career as I ride across the top of the mountain and wherever else I end up. But being in Blythewood the last 5.5 years has been absolutely wonderful for me and for our bank. We've enjoyed tremendous success here. We are a full-service commercial bank. Any type of loan you need, whether it's consumer, personal, business of any type, real estate lending, lines of credit. We have a full mortgage company for all those folks that are interested right now in getting that 2.25% rate on a refinance or to purchase a home. Those folks are just working night and day. They're getting so much business thrown their way. I've been in banking over 45 years. I've never seen rates where they are today, and what it's done to stimulate what could have been a really anemic economy. has turned out in some instances to be exactly the opposite, depending on what type of business you're in. But we'd love to help you if you have any needs to borrow money or put money in the bank. We've got a nice big vault over there with some room in it, so you can bring it over like Mayor Ross does in wheelbarrows. Well, that's only on Fridays after he wins on the golf course. But seriously, we love being in this community. It's been great for us, and we look forward to doing that many more years to come. Today's breakfast, as you well know by now, is sponsored by Chick-fil-A on Killian Road. Aaron Jackson, was that Aaron that was here? He's still here. Would you like to say a few words about Chick-fil-A, sir? Thank you, Aaron. Recognition of new members. Is Mr. J.D. McCargill here with Blythewood, Carolina Wings and Ribs? One of our new members. No. Michael Israel with Dreyer Physical Therapy. Okay. All right. Do we have any? I'm sorry? Thank you, Keith. I guess it was too cold to play golf and there's nothing to hunt right now. Is that right? Well, we're glad you're here this morning. We're going to move the agenda. I'm sorry, we have a guest. That was I was going to do that before Keith interrupted me, so I'm sorry. Thank you. Do we have any other guests here today? Yes, sir. Well, you have been a busy man. Yes, sir. Welcome. Thank you. We're glad you're here. Any more guests? Well, welcome again to everybody that come in this nice warm building from the 26-degree temperatures outside. We're going to move the agenda around a little bit today, and we're going to go ahead and start doing our community reports. I do not see the Sheriff's Department here yet. If anybody would like to report a crime, now's the time to do it. Richland 2 update, Maria. Is she here? Oh, we've got the head man. Good morning.
the school, but none of them necessarily have picked up the virus while. So the spread of the virus is relatively low, if almost non-existent, at the actual school site. But we're taking a very aggressive position when it comes to quarantine and isolation. And so when we ask the question, tell us who your give us an idea of your direct contact when we're doing contact tracing. If you say, I'm not sure that Barron was a direct contact, then he's a direct contact. We just make the assumption that he was. We put that student or that employee in isolation and quarantine for 14 days, just to be on the safe side. That approach has been working thus far. Other than that, things are going well. As we manage those things, our district continues to, I think, thrive in this time. We continue. I think at the end of the year, I didn't get a chance to talk to you. We had $155 million in scholarships offers. That was an increase from the previous year, where I think we had $132 million. So we increased our scholarship earnings well over $20 million over the past school year. I just made a correction to the graduation rate. We got our graduation rate back. It was incorrect. We pushed the State Department to reevaluate the graduation rate at Blythewood High School, found that they had calculated it incorrectly. That graduation rate was roughly about 93% of the students at Blythewood High School graduated, which pulled our district rate back up to where it was, roughly about 88%, almost 89% of our students in Richland to continue to graduate on time and matriculate into 2 or 4-year colleges, as well as the workforce and into their careers in the military.
All right, thank you. Okay, up next is Blythewood Artists Guild. Do we have somebody here this morning to report on that? All right, then we'll have to defer and step a notch down to Buddy with the Historical Society.
Thank you, and good morning. My name is Buddy Price, and I'm here representing today the Historical Society. And just wanted to let you know that, and as I've reported in a couple other meetings, we're slowly making a change from a historical society into being both a historical society and a museum. And if you haven't had an opportunity to come through there lately, it is incredible, and it's a work in progress. It will continue to be expanded with artifacts and just some things of real interest from here in Blythewood in days long ago. We're also working, and this is really exciting, to restore the Langford Nord House back to its original look. Right now it's got siding on it and some other things, and we want to take it off and restore it. And that's going to be a steady process, being very careful about that, but we've begun the study, and we've got folks that are coming in to give us prices and those kind of things. So we'll be giving you more information about that. Thank you.
Thank you. Chris, you want to bring us up to date on the county?
Yeah. I didn't get this question, but somebody had told me that somebody was asking about the Public Works facility that's out on Blythewood Road. I mentioned it back in September, but that's a Public Works Department. It's their temporary work camp for the folks, the crew that works here in the north end of the county. It has about 10 full-time staff that take care of this area, and the main reason they opened it is because they're normally based on at the Powell Road facility. It's a little crowded there because everybody reports in for work every day. So to give for social distancing and for people's health reasons, they kind of opened up this facility to kind of give them some more room to spread out. I dropped some flyers on the table. It's a 2-sided news release because there's 2 bits of information I wanted to let y'all know about. If you live or work in the village of Sandhills, and I know some of you do have offices there, the county's working on a neighborhood improvement plan for that area. And right now they're seeking public input on a draft plan. There was an earlier round of community input about a year ago. So now they've put that together into a plan, drafted it, so now they're looking for a second round of input on that draft plan. So you have until Friday to provide input. So there is a website that's mentioned on that news release, so please take a look at that if you can. The other side of the sheet, talks about how to comment on the county's proposed land development code rewrite. And this probably impacts everybody in this room if you live in Richland County. That land development code and the accompanying zoning map dictates how land is used and how it's developed. So if you have concerns about land development wherever you are at, you might want to take a look at that, comment on the rewrite, and then the zoning map will be, a draft of that will be circulated, and there's going to be some public comment periods for that coming up too. Last but not least, remember to shop local, folks. We've got to keep our small businesses and our local businesses thriving and surviving, so especially this holiday season.
Okay. Thank you, Chris. Okay, Town of Blythewood. Sloan, anybody want to report on what's going on?
Morning, everyone. Nothing in high value important from the town other than have a happy and safe Merry Christmas. Remember to use social distancing where you can and wear your mask. Other than that, we remain open for business. So if you still need us, you can still come up to Town Hall, call us, and we'll continue that business flow. Thank you.
Thank you. Just a little quick story about the last time I saw Sloan. He was standing out here when the town was doing the COVID drive-through testing, and that was the Friday before Thanksgiving, and I was going to Raleigh to see my 91-year-old mom, so I thought, well, I might just go do that, and so I did, and at 4:27 a.m. the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, I had an email that woke me up in the morning that said I was negative. So I could travel safely to see her. Now, when I went to the bank, though, I told the girls over there that I had a very unusual result. I had one nostril that tested negative and the other nostril was positive. And they believed me. That can only happen to me, trust me. Okay. Actually, it tickled a little bit. So, Phil, I think what we'll do next is Happy Dollars and get that underway. Anybody? That's the dollars that you give are matched by the chamber for our scholarship fund.
I got $20 here for Blythewood Rotary. I'm also the president of Blythewood Rotary. All the Rotarians in this room, please raise your hand. What a bunch of royalty in this room. So we purchased the Christmas tree lot up at the and actually sold out of trees in 5 days. Paid off all of our debt with that, and we're going to be able to put another $20,000 scholarships and we meet at 7:30 in the morning. Great memories of this room and also for the kids.
That's great. Thank you, Mark. Thank you. Good job, guys.
I've got $5 for the pot today, and this is for my daughter Chapman, who has given birth to my 5th grandchild, which will be a girl in February.
Awesome.
Keith, this is for you. I have this commitment, and whenever time we get new members, I have to put money in the pot. Alan?
I've got a couple of dollars for Happy Dollars. As a long-suffering Gamecock fan going all the way back to 1967, I'm real happy this morning that I am on the Shane train. And things are going to be different around here. And I think the slogan that we've always gone by of just wait till next year actually applies this time. Because I know a lot of people are using that slogan. They've borrowed it from the Gamecocks. But we'll see. Hopefully things will be greater. Okay.
Anyone else? Okay.
Got one more, Phil.
I'm just happy to be here, and I'm happy I'm finally going to sell my house in Mobile, so pray for me that it gets sold, but I'm just happy to be here, and good to see you all.
That was Deborah Dollarhide, by the way.
Okay. All right, we're going to shift into program mode right now, and I'm going to bring Chris up again to introduce our speakers. Thank you.
As some of you know, Richland County is about to start some projects out in the Blythewood area. These are economic development and transportation programs, projects. And granted, a lot of these projects involve construction, which means a little inconvenience and stuff for us. But the important thing is, for those of us who live and work here, in the long run, these projects are they hold a lot of promise for what Blythewood is and what it can become. So I'm really pleased to invite two of my fellow county department directors here today to tell you about some of these projects. I've really enjoyed working with these two gentlemen for the 2 years I've been with the county, and I'm sure they'll be sharing a lot of information with you this morning. And I'm going to introduce them to you in alphabetical order and ask that you guys just wave or stand if you'd like as I introduce you. Michael Niedermeyer has worked with Richland County since February 2018, when he was originally hired as the Capital Projects Program Manager. In March 2019, he was named Director for the Transportation Department and is now responsible for managing county road projects funded through the Penny Tax Program. Prior to joining the county, Michael worked in the private sector for companies like Northrop Grumman and Academy, and operated his own VOSB consulting company. And if you remember from last month when we had Mr. Bobby Cash here, you know that that stands for a service-disabled, veteran-owned small business. The majority of his past work was domestic and international project management in the areas of counter-narcotics, construction, training, and logistics. So hence you see the tie to managing transportation projects. Michael served in the United States Marine Corps as an intelligence officer in an active and reserve capacity, retiring in 2013 after 22 years at the rank of lieutenant colonel. He earned a master's in public administration from Old Dominion University and holds a project management professional credential from the Project Management Institute. Michael moved to South Carolina with his spouse, Dr. Kelly Kavanaugh Niedermeyer from Virginia in 2017. They have 3 children who are all Gamecocks, which should make a lot of people happy. Jeff Rubel is Director of Economic Development for Richland County, where he leads an office responsible for recruiting and growing business and industry for the area, including Columbia, which is our state capital. And one of the people who works with Jeff is Kim Mann, and if those of you who come to the industry partners meeting, you've probably met Kim there. Jeff has served as a regional and statewide economic development groups, as Senior Vice President for Global Business Development with the South Carolina Power Team. His business development team recorded the 2 most successful years in the organization's history, including the recruitment of Volvo. Jeff served 12 years in attracting companies to the Columbia region for the Central SC Alliance, where he recruited companies investing in more than $10 billion and creating more than 50,000 jobs. He's nationally accredited and has completed his post-grad work at the University of South Florida, Georgia Tech, University of Oklahoma, University of South Carolina, and Harvard. He has served as president of the South Carolina Economic Developers Association and serves on the board of Accelerate SC, the I-77 Economic Development Alliance, and the Columbia USC Incubator. He's also a member of the International Economic Development Council and the Southern Economic Development Council. He's published articles on regional economic development strategies and energy policy. So, since economic development comes before transportation in the Webster's Dictionary, I'm going to let Jeff go first, and then he'll turn it over to Michael, and then we'll take some questions and try to.
Chris, thanks for that nice introduction. I hate my bio. It just sounds a little too much. I didn't prepare a whole lot of comments this morning. I was going to kind of keep it brief and open it up for questions and answers. But first, let me thank you for inviting us up. I look around the room and see a lot of old friends. We went through a process of rezoning some property, and I'm looking around the room and see a lot of folks that I've talked to over the past year or two. Just as a quick introduction, I've been with the county about 5 years. One of the things we kind of started setting priorities when I first joined. One of the items that we knew we needed to do was start looking at the future of our region, and how do we grow it? How do we grow it in a smart way? And let me back up a little bit. Sure, I can stand closer. Just from a tax standpoint, if you throw up a chart and you look at how much a residence pays in property taxes, and then you look at what it costs to educate kids and what it costs to provide services to that residence, it's a losing proposition for a county. A county would go underwater if it was a business. The only way to balance that out, that property tax equation, is with commercial and industrial property taxes. So for instance, Coyo Berry, and a lot of you know that, it's I think J-Tech on the side of the building. It sits down there on the interstate. They have millions and millions and millions of dollars in machinery and equipment the county spends nothing to provide services to it. They just churn out property taxes. They have good jobs, I'm not discounting that, but from a county standpoint, we need more companies like that that just pay into the system. Those kinds of companies fund our school districts. They support the county. So long-term, you have to grow with commercial and industrial if you're going to make it as a county. Otherwise, your property taxes just keep going up north every year, year after year. So if you look in the past, sometimes we haven't been as successful as some other markets like Greenville or Rock Hill or Charleston in recruiting industry. And consequently, you can see, looking around, we have some of the higher property tax rates, not just in South Carolina, but in the entire nation. So what we tried to do was say, okay, where are we going to grow? What's a good spot? We started looking around the county. You start looking at where are places where we have water and sewer, where we have good infrastructure from a road standpoint. Where can we find big tracts of land at a reasonable price that we think we can develop and that will be attractive to industry? And one of the pieces of property we identified was what we refer to as the old Barnett and Swigert properties. So the southwest quadrant of Blythewood Road and I-77. That process started 6-7 years ago. Option property, we studied it, did due diligence. Finally, last year, we closed on, I think it was $26 million worth of land. So in the scheme of South Carolina, that's probably the largest purchase a county's made for an industrial park ever. So it's a pretty big commitment for the county. What we're anticipating is that we're going to grow that park by making it aesthetically pleasing and recruiting what we think will be employers of the future. So what we joked around when we were doing the rezoning process, we were saying, hey, this is not your grandfather's industrial park. This is not a bunch of pallets on the side of the road and metal buildings with smokestacks. We're hoping that this is the jobs that we hope to be. So what is Columbia's future? What is Richland County's future? It's high tech. It's higher tech. It's going to look more like PMSC, if you guys know what that looks like, or the Carolina Research Park, than some old rundown industrial park on the side of a road. So that's the goal. So far, we've been in the planning stages. We've been working closely with Fairfield Electric. I see Doug Payne over here. We just transferred some property for them to build a new substation. They, in turn, have given us a grant, and we're starting to clear some land and develop the first tract of land out there. I wouldn't suggest to you that that's going to be where we develop. It's just that when you bring an industrial prospect up and you say, okay, this is the site, you have to be able to show them something. And if you just show them a bunch of pine trees, they can't envision it. So we just need some cleared area, and that's one of the first stages. The other thing you might have noticed is the county set up a small operations unit out there. I think that's directly related to COVID. So they were staggering their work units. They weren't getting out and collecting garbage and other refuge. They couldn't do that because they couldn't keep enough folks in office. They just needed a second location. We offered to let them use that property so it wasn't being used. My understanding is that's just a temporary site until COVID subsides. So that's just a few things. I can open it up to any questions. Yes, ma'am. That's not the initial idea. The initial idea was just to create an area where you could see the site. However, over time, I'm sorry, let me just repeat the question. She's asking if we're going to build a spec building there.
No, I didn't mean there. I just meant you plan to build a spec building pretty soon, or,
No, ma'am, there's nothing imminent.
okay.
But over time, absolutely possible. Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
The concerns that the community has raised about the aesthetic look, especially along Blythewood Road?
We've had a lot of conversations. I wouldn't say it was arduous, but actually at times it was painful. But no, we came through the process of setting up covenants and restrictions. So we listened to residents and said, okay, what do you want to see? This is what we're envisioning. So yes, there will be a high level of aesthetics. We're thinking a good level of landscaping and that sort of thing. We want it to be something you're proud of as well as us. The other big issue that we came up when we were having these discussions was traffic. And the idea is to shift the traffic as much as we can on Community Road and keep it off Blythewood Road. We don't want to make Blythewood Road worse. We want to try to alleviate some of that traffic and move it south. Well, y'all were a great audience. Thank you. I think my job is now to introduce Michael. You know, I think you guys read the paper. That penny tax program has had its ups and downs. I think just recently it had some negative press. Michael didn't create any of that, and I don't think Michael he's not a long-time road builder. But I've got all the confidence in the world. He's the right guy for that job. He is a solid guy that you can count on. I am extremely happy to have him in that role. So without any further ado, Michael, thank you.
I know you're all smiling underneath those masks, aren't you? Good morning, everybody. Again, Michael Niermeyer. I'm the Transportation Director for Richland County, overseeing the Penny Program. I appreciate the invite. Jeff, I appreciate the warm introduction. It's been great working with folks like Chris Kiefer and Jeff Rubel. They're consummate professionals. And one thing I've learned working in local government since coming to the county in February 2018 in the Capital Projects Program Manager position, read in Renaissance program into that. It does take a team of solid professionals to make things happen, and you quickly learn how integrated every different department can be and what you provide to each other, and how that brings everything together and makes a better product for the residents of Richland County. I did want to start off by saying thanks, Chris, for inviting me here today. She is great to work with. I really appreciate her deep involvement in the Blythewood community. She never misses an opportunity to invite to things like opportunities like this, or just make suggestions that others may not have thought of, and make things better. Appreciate the chamber allowing me to come and talk to you a little bit this morning. I will try to cover a broad brush of things. We'll talk a little bit about the program in general, and then we can go specifically into the three projects that we're doing up here in Blythewood, or will be doing up here in Blythewood. I enjoy these opportunities. There's been very few in the last several, most of the year, to come and speak to people, see real faces, get the sense of who you are, what the concerns are, because it's really hard to gauge a lot of that off of a Zoom video or sitting in your office. So getting out and about is something that's always important to me, and I think that that visibility of your local government folks is critical. I also think it helps make us real to you. We're not just a name in the paper, maybe a picture or whatever. One thing I will something that Jeff said, it did strike pretty close to home. Don't believe everything you read in the paper. There's well-meaning journalists out there. The penny, as you all know, and those who've been here a long time might have voted for the referendum back in 2012. I've seen the ups and downs, and I'm the latest of several directors that have been overseeing the program. However, the department is now running the program from within the county. We're not outsourcing actual management of it. And that's a big change. And I think in the next few months, we'll be able to publish our end-of-year report and a few other things, and you can kind of see where the efficiencies are being realized, both in progress as well as in cost. Just of note on that article, and I'm not going to draw too much more attention to it, but we do appreciate being asked questions and being allowed to answer with facts. And when information is pushed out that hasn't been fact-checked, it gets real frustrating, because the result is a lot more work on our part, having to kind of clean up the mess, so to speak. I'm accountable to you, stakeholders in the program. I'm accountable to the administrator. I'm accountable to county council, and everybody along the way has their own questions and wants those answers. So we're working on some of that now to get some of that mess cleaned up, if you will. When I first started with the county in 2018, overseeing the implementation of the Renaissance, one of my first meetings was actually up here in Blythewood. We met at the over in McNulty on the workspace over there. It's kind of your visitor center, and met Malcolm Gorge at the time. And I know he said he might be here today, but I don't see him in the audience. He introduced me to some of the projects, ironically, now that I'm working on up here in Blythewood. We talked about some of the things, or how Blythewood could assist with implementation of the Renaissance. And it was very positive, and I appreciated that first look and introduction with the town of Blythewood. He's been instrumental in being your representative on the TPAC. He always asks pointed questions that are relevant, and again, I like working with him quite a bit. Finally, just before we get into the nuts and bolts of the program and individual projects, I definitely appreciate the town of Blythewood and the council's vote to support the program with codifying the importance and the priority of some of the projects we're going to be doing up here, as well as supporting the staff's recommendation to council for shifting certain funds that are available to Blythewood from the improvement projects to the widening. As you may know, the widening as designed was a little bit higher than what the referendum had allowed for. So being able to use the money that was going to be specifically dedicated to projects in this area, move it over from the improvement projects to the widening was definitely, we recommended, and I'm glad the town supported us on that. So I believe that adds that much more credibility to the staff and what things we recommend. Those of us working in the program have nothing, want to do nothing more than provide a good product at the right price to the residents and citizens of Richland County. And your support for that definitely adds some credibility to what we're recommending. We're just not making stuff up and snatching it out of the air and saying it, asking the good idea fairy what we should do next. No, having that backing of groups like this, the council and the residents is really important to us. So, penny program, where are we now? Last November, actually November before last, the joint venture group that ran the program. Its contract officially ended. The department, Transportation Department, officially took over management of the program. Everything from design, scoping, running the projects, doing the budget, community outreach, everything that was previously done by a 40-person program development team now lies on what will be a 14-member department. Obviously, we have outside contracting to support for a lot of functions, as previously was done. We rely heavily on other internal county staff to support us, either in procurement, budget and finance, and other functions that kind of augment what the department does. Those groups are in general support of the county, so therefore, why wouldn't they be in general support of transportation? And that's all been very critical. I said 14 people for the staff. Something we just got approved by County Council was the addition of a finance manager for transportation. What does this provide? Well, it provides us something we don't have now, which is that finance and accounting. Don't throw stones. I can't believe it either, but that leadership in finance and accounting that we so sorely lacked. So that requisition should be posted soon. We're looking for someone with 10 years experience, prefer a master's, a bachelor's accounting is more than, or finance is more than reasonable. Love to get a CPA in there, or at least a certified government financial officer. Having that person on staff, as I said, will provide that expertise. It'll make my job a lot easier. It'll help us be able to report a lot clearer using general accepted accounting principles, and add to that transparency that I've strived for since day one, but has been a significant challenge without having that type of expertise. Chris mentioned some of my background from the private sector, and I like to think I grew up in a good company in the business side with Northrop Grumman. And then taking those principles and striking out into my own company, which it was hard. It's really hard if you're not working out making money and you're juggling all the different things. But throughout those experiences, I learned a lot about the business of accounting and finance within a business. And whereas the county's a government, a lot of the principles are still the same. So we can do so much with what we have, but we definitely need that resource. And once we get that resource on board, it'll be a real force multiplier for us. So the program in general, the Penny program, I like to say we're at a good place right now. We've weathered, the turmoil of transition from, call it March 2019 to November 2019. We've weathered, following November, basically a shutdown on all projects that weren't under construction. We've work through developing a de-scoping plan to bring projects under the referendum best we can. And for the majority of the projects, we've been able to do that. Some of them you just can't change and have any meaningful impact. Significant achievement was May 5th of this past year, where council voted to approve that de-scoping plan that staff had developed. That was tremendous. That basically gave us our license to re-engage everything we can. So whether it be design, redesign, as well as projects that have kind of been in limbo for a while. That did include the Blythewood widening project. So following that, in the summer, we're finally at a place where we're cranking out service orders to get designs underway, such as for Creech and McNulty. We're letting projects. We've just got a new resurfacing package that's been let out. We're getting voted on a dirt road package tonight. We've got sidewalks. We've got some major intersections coming up at Bull Elmwood. And of course, Blythewood widening, which we anticipate coming up after the first of the year. So again, we're at a good place right now. The level of work is commensurate with the staff we have to support it. Some people can shoulder more than others. However, and some projects are a lot more complex than others. But right now, with the 5 engineers we are trying to hire a 6th still. We have a good level of work, both pre-construction and construction, and we'll hopefully be dialing that up a little bit more. But being at a good place, we want to get to a great place. We feel like we'll get to that great place next year. Coming up into a real first budget cycle for the program, where we'll be right-sizing everything. We'll be reducing our debt. We'll be getting more, working on the revenue we get in, and looking at outside funding. And we feel this is the most responsible thing to do for the program and for the county. From the inception of the program, the ordinance allowed us to borrow up to $450 million. Seed money, starter money, get it going. We're at a place now where there's been a lot achieved, either in design or construction. A lot of projects have been completed. We still have some big ones to go. But we're at a place where we can pay down that debt that we have. We can refinance, and we're hoping this gets approved in council coming up tonight, actually. Bond out for the remaining debt, so we can lock into those that 7-year pay schedule. And once that happens, we'll know what we owe, and we'll have that revenue coming in, so we can do a proverbial pay-as-you-go with the money we have and what we've got coming in for revenue. We feel that's the most responsible approach for the program moving forward until it ends in 22 years or $1.072 billion, whatever comes first. And I'm glad Jeff was kind of the opening act here. It's kind of a tough one to follow, especially that resume. Wow, who knew? Working with royalty here. But one of the premises of the penny was, in fact, economic development. Key word being development, though. And what's great working with economic development is complementary in nature, and plus they give us money sometimes too for these projects. So we've got some grants from them for our shop extension project, which we completed last year. There's some development money actually for Blythewood widening, and a few others, and we continue to look for that nexus between what we're doing and what they're doing. Not only does it improve the infrastructure of Richland County, but it's an enabler for some of the great projects that Jeff and his group have done with the China Juicy. We have that whole Pinewood Industrial Park. Looking up here in Blythewood, what they're doing with the industrial park and our tie-in with Blythewood widening, very complementary, and that's how the county needs to look at what it does holistically. There's nothing that happens in a bubble. Something always touches something else. Chris mentioned earlier, this may not apply to everybody here, but the Sand Hills Neighborhood Plan. Looking through that plan, there's a lot of infrastructure improvement projects there, whether it be sidewalks, whether it be landscaping, hardscaping, as well as some road projects. And looking through it, I'm like, hey, Spears Creek Church Road, that's one of our widening projects. All right, well, we're meeting them on Friday. So we can tie in what we have under design already into their plan and make sure it integrates properly. So if everyone's in their own silo doing their own thing, you're only asking for trouble. That just shows inefficiency and lack of coordination. So we want to make sure we keep ahead of those things. We talked about Penny's part of smart development and growth for our infrastructure, and it plays into economic development and neighborhood planning. At the end of the day, all it really wants to do is make a meaningful impact to the community. So, let me stop there for a second and maybe answer any program questions before I go into specifics on the projects that are going to be directly affecting your community. And you can always ask them at the end if you want. Sir.
Bringing it in-house with 14 staff members plus outside contractors, but and you mentioned one specific position you needed to add in there, the financial manager. What were some of the excesses that you wound up eliminating from the program when it was out of house?
The obvious ones were there were several layers of management that existed with the joint venture that doesn't exist now. So we're definitely leaner and meaner. There was some administrative support positions that didn't necessarily translate into the government arena. There were functions that weren't inherently government that we do currently use a staff augmentation concept that we invented last year, so we can reach out and get those experts as we need it on it, not as a full-time, but on an as-needed basis. Some certain functions like, again, not inherently government, like a right-of-way manager. That's not necessarily typical to a local or local government. Utility coordination, can be a specialty. One of our engineers could do it, but then I need my engineers to do pre-construction work and design. I need my engineers to run projects. So groups like that were taken out of that previous structure, and we use as staff augmentee on as needed. Other areas, we don't have as many inspectors. I believe the previous team had 14 inspectors. We have 4, and some of the larger projects, we will outsource those. But that's one of the areas we've really seen a lot of cost savings by bringing those inspectors in-house and having them do primarily resurfacing, intersection, and dirt road projects. We don't have a lot of the higher level, accounting, finance support that our management team had, but then we also rely on internal, budget and finance department of the county, in general support of the county and all the other departments to augment that. So we've been able to, flatten the organization a bit, optimize it with most essential functions for executing those projects and having those project managers own those projects from cradle to grave, own the numbers, schedule, scope, and then those of us on the administrative side of the program are focusing on big picture, taking care of administration and council, and letting the project managers manage, keeping that umbrella over them. So kind of a long answer to a question, and I hope I answered it, because I just kind of ramble sometimes when I get an idea in my head. Do we need more people? Definitely need the finance manager. Definitely would like to have that 6th project manager / engineer, but we don't, and so we're going to work with what we have and do the best we can. So. Anything else programmatic? I would love to. Thank you for that. Yeah, I know. I'm going to give my 2-3 cents in here before I got to the crux of the matter here. So Blythewood Road widening. I know everyone's eagerly anticipating getting that beast kicked off. I can tell from the traffic up here, it's much needed. Yeah, it's going to be a little inconvenience in the short term, but on the long term, it'll be a blessing. So this was one of the projects that wasn't allowed to move forward last year when we kind of pumped the brakes to see what the desire was of council and get things straightened away. But we're ready to go. The design has been done for a long time. 98%, call it 100%. Construction drawings are done. All the preparation to advertise the project is done. Only thing we've got that's delaying that advertisement is a few right-of-way issues. We've got about 5 parcels along the road that we're negotiating still at the moment. Had a meeting on site about a couple weeks ago, kind of discuss it with the property owners, and our right-of-way management team is in those negotiations and trying to make a settlement that would be beneficial to all parties. Of course, if on these projects, if we can't get a settlement, then the only alternative is to go to condemnation, which if it comes to that, as soon as those filings are made in the court, we'll be able to go ahead and advertise. That's one of the things the law allows us to do. So, but this, as you all know, the Blythewood Widening Project goes a long ways back. We got our authorization to proceed from SCDOT back in October of 19. We had a right-of-way authorization from SCDOT in October of 18, so there's been a lot of key pieces in place for a while. I already talked about the parcels that we still need to move forward, and I think y'all were, or at least the county, or not the county, but the town was involved in a shared use path maintenance agreement with SCDOT a while back, which is fantastic. Just a little bit of background. A shared use path is about a 10-foot sidewalk for biking and walking. If it's within the SCDOT right-of-way, which Blythewood Road is, since it's a state road, if we build one, we got to maintain it, we being the county. So a lot of times we'll shy away from building those nice 10-foot wide sidewalks if we have to maintain them. It's unfortunate, it's a budget thing. So fortunately, town of Blythewood stepped up and said, yeah, we're going to step up and do this maintenance, as needed for it, which allows us to go ahead and do that nice 10-foot shared use path. So that's kind of the long and short of that. We're working on a modification to a service order for Parish and Partners, which is our OET, our on-call engineering team that did the design. They're going to provide some construction phase services, and that'll be important to the quality assurance piece of the project. We talked about the resolution supporting the widening and really other projects earlier. I talked about the right-of-way and discussion. One of the pieces of this was a water line from the town of Winnsboro, which was part of the project, which is part of the utility engineering that's going to occur. Now, what changed last May was a state law that said if you're a small provider, which Winnsboro is, then you got to pay for that. Previously, before that law was put into place, Winnsboro is going to pay for the line and the connection into that area. It's not a real game changer. It's not a showstopper. So we're just we're coordinating with that utility, and we'll be ready to go by time this thing gets advertised after the first of the year. That's where we really are. We're really at kind of that holding pattern until we get those remaining parcels settled. It's stuff that our right-of-way manager does every day. And like anything else, it's a negotiation, so it doesn't happen overnight. And we've been working on that, and real excited to get that settled once and for all. So, there's not a whole lot more to say about it. There's still a 5-lane road that goes from Syrup Mill to I-77. It will have a tie-in with the community going down towards the industrial park, which is a key part of it. Yes, there's still a traffic circle there. It'll be a 2-lane traffic circle. Hopefully keep that flow of traffic east-west moving, as well as coming in from the north. Do they take a little getting used to? Yeah, sometimes if you're not familiar with it. Europeans have been doing it for years. Why can't we? I know out where I live, we got a few out that way, and they work really well. The key is just to keep people moving, keep that flow going. So I think once it's built, it'll work really well for Blythewood Road. Any questions on Blythewood widening, sir? Question was, so does that mean that another project will come east of the interstate? That's correct. So it'll go from that I-77 intersection coming off out to Syrup Mill. Now, the other two projects, Creech and McNulty, are obviously east of the interstate, and they'll tie in with Blythewood Road. So there'll be improvements there. And I don't believe the original scope was ever coming east of the interstate. I could be wrong. I've been wrong once or twice before. Anything else on widening?
Could you expand a little more on the town of Winnsboro and the water? Is this the water supply line that is coming through Bethel-Hanbury, the 10-inch line through there? Is that the one you're referring to?
I believe that's the only one.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so that's the one. So with the agreement with town of Winnsboro, and this is really starting to kick back off again with coordination. The big thing we got hung up on was who was paying for it. Originally them, now it's us. But yeah, that'll get all worked out by the time this thing gets advertised.
So it's already settled as that you'll be paying for it, and the projects go for that.
That's correct. That's correct.
For the widening on the syrup mill end, is there going to be a traffic light at Syrup Mill and Blythewood Road as a result of the widening?
I don't remember. I don't remember. I will have to look that up on the traffic plans for the markings and everything. I was trying to, no, it's okay. There's always one, and it's like a council meeting. You never know what they're going to ask, and whenever you anticipate they won't ask it, and they'll ask something else. I will find out and get back with you all, okay? Yeah. You have to space those traffic lights out a certain way. I'd imagine there probably would be, since everything will be narrowing at that point, but I'll find out for you. Yes, ma'am.
I think you said earlier that some of the money from the improvement plan was being shifted over to fund the widening. How will that affect the improvement plan timeline and scope?
Okay, that's a great question. For those of you who may recall, the improvement plan had about $21 million allocated in the referendum. Of the four original projects, the town has gone ahead and said these two are a priority. One's the McNulty and then the Creech piece. So that's not going to affect the scope of those two projects at all. It won't affect the timeline of those two projects at all. All it'll allow us to do is shift about $2.5 million over from the improvements to the widening, which will allow us to fully fund the widening project from Syrup Mill to I-77. No delays in Creech and McNulty improvements. That sounds like a good segue into those two projects. So, as part of the improvement, there was two of the main projects that were selected were the Creech Road and McNulty Street. These two were basically to widen, extend, and improve Creech Road from Blythewood to Maine, and to widen and improve McNulty from Maine to Blythewood Road. The service order for the design, also being handled by Parrish and Partners, our on-call engineering team, was awarded in August. Work on the design began in September, what we call Phase 1. So within Phase 1, the concept design and cost estimates were being developed. We're at what we call Phase 2 now, which is what we call SUE, but Stormwater Utility Engineering, which is one of the issues. We got a call from a constituent that some people were out putting paint on their buildings and mailboxes and things like that. And sorry. As part of the survey work, they got to go around and mark a lot of utilities with non-permanent paint, and obviously our survey team didn't do a really good job of alerting the folks that this was going to happen. So we respond, and those things happen. That's construction. Not fun, but we did address that right away. Our project manager got in touch and explained everything. So things like that happen. Let us know. We make sure our contractors are doing their job the right way, and we're pushing information out. So basically, we got the on-call engineering team working. They started the design work. Survey work is continuing on site with, as we said, some temporary markings on McNulty. Project status-wise, though, is we're looking at about a 10.5-month schedule to get to construction drawings complete. So currently, Creech Road, we're looking at around only 25% design. So they'll be getting into the survey work soon. McNulty Street was a little more mature. We're at 50%. They had some preliminaries that were a little more mature, so we've gone a little bit further, and that's why they're doing the survey work now and getting into that stormwater utility engineering. So those are happening in parallel. Originally, those were led as two separate design projects, and the pricing came in that wasn't real good. So we were able to combine those to get a little more efficiency and save us a little bit of money in the long run. So those are being designed in parallel. So we're looking at start of September, so you could, don't quote me, 10 and a half months. But what's going to be the long pole in the proverbial tent there is McNulty's getting closer to where the engineer team is going to develop those right-of-way plans. And right-of-way is what can take the longest amount of time. So as soon as we get done with the stormwater utility engineering, we'll have those preliminary plans, we'll review. Those are what we call 60 to 70 or 70% plans. Those are the right-of-way, what we know that we'll need, and our right-of-way agents will go out and start trying to acquire that right-of-way for the project. So it may be a simple permission, it could be actually buying said property, and hopefully, at the end of the day, we won't have to go into any kind of condemnation work. But and that could take a bit of time. There's really no timeline you can put on that. Hopefully, it won't take too long for the length of the projects we're doing. So we're probably thinking around after the first of the year, maybe February, we should be able to get into that right-of-way piece for McNulty, and then soon after that, it'll be for Creech. Let's see, anything else important right now? So it's not a lot of exciting stuff, but a lot of design work, and that's where it's all got to start anyway. With that, is there any questions on the projects I can answer? Yes, ma'am.
Not on that project, but one place that traffic is approaching a critical mass is going to be on Rammer Pond Road, getting on to Highway 21. And just last night, the Planning Commission voted to recommend another new neighborhood to be built on Rammer Pond Road. So there'll be the Great Southern Homes exit, the new neighborhood, and Cooper's Pond all exiting onto Rammer Pond Road with what, maybe a quarter mile of, or less, of Highway 21. And at this point, 2 of those aren't completed, or even, there's no houses there. And traffic backs up all the way to the bridge almost, which is a pretty long way. And the other end of Rammer Pond Road is going to have the other exit from Great Southern Homes up by Town Hall. And with all of the long-term plans for the penny tax, is there ever any money that can be used to alleviate problems in the interim that come up when council will most likely approve this because it meets all the requirements of the comp plan and it's a low density. So there's really no reason that they're going to turn it down. But Rammer Pond Road is going to be impassable very shortly when those homes start being built. And there's not another exit.
The cop-out answer on my part would be, well, if it's not in the referendum, I'm not doing it. Now, the things I think about and I look forward to or try to look ahead to as part of the de-scoping plan and potential funding that I wouldn't say freed up, but that could be available in the future for either making projects whole or could be brought back to council with recommendations. What does that look like? What could that look like as part of kind of the strategic thinking for the program? I guess once we get done what we're supposed to get done, or as we get closer to that point, we'll know better what funding may be available to the penny program. Hasn't been collected still, or what's been saved by de-scoping. And I think what that comes down to then is organizations like this, private citizens reaching out to your council and asking those same questions. We can make recommendations to SCAF and take your input, and in the TPAC could actually be a very good organization for that, asking, well, what are you going to do? And they say, all right, staff, you need to think about what you want to do, and we could actually come up with some solutions. But that's definitely a few years away. We all know, I don't want to call it sprawl. That implies that it's not planned, but growth and development sometimes outweighs the infrastructure to support it. And unfortunately, I've seen that way too many times. So I would suggest be vocal about what you're saying right now. Say how we're going to use any potential savings, and to me, that kind of sounds like a larger problem. If you can't speak, I mean, I know all our meetings are, at least they're broadcast. There's an opportunity for public comment. My transportation ad hoc, and I know the few planning meetings I've been to, when they were in council chambers, I believe public could go there and sign up to speak, but not as familiar with that process. Can't. Take a note on that, Chris. I hear you, though. Anything else I could, yes, sir?
My business is in a small business park on Lee Road, right off of Hardscrabble Road. And in the process of a small widening project at the intersection of Lee and Hardscrabble, somehow our irrigation system got destroyed. And we've had a hell of a time trying to figure out who to talk to get that repaired. And it's, I mean, we're talking maybe 30, 40 yards of line, but nobody seems to, it's always pass the buck. It's we didn't do it, they did it. It's don't talk to us, talk to them. Any suggestions other than stand in front of council and scream and holler and can't do that anymore? So
Didn't you contact us about that? Somebody did. Well, honestly, that's, we get issues like that every once in a while, just with the irrigation system. Actually, no, it wasn't. It was a guy on Clemson Road that actually had a similar issue that we wound up going back with. So my cop-out answer was, you got to call SCDOT, it's their project. But that's not how we work. No, if you have an issue like that, the contractor is supposed to fix that for you. So there's two ways you can go. That you can, I guess, contact the state's ombudsman office about that, and they will reroute you bureaucratically to the contractor. I know Palmetto Corp of Conway is your general contractor on Hardscrabble. They're actually a really good company. I would call them directly. If you're so inclined, you could drive on Hardscrabble to their construction office and knock on the door too, if you really chose. They have a huge laydown area up there where their office is. Those are your best courses of action, but under most contracts, pretty much all contracts, things like that, whether you damaged my mailbox, you broke my fence, you cracked my sidewalk, you severed my irrigation system, that's on the contractor to make right on those, because it just happens during construction. Yeah, so the Hardscrabble widening project is a state project. The county, the penny does provide 20-some million dollars to the state for them to widen Hardscrabble Road. So as far as, we get calls for it because everyone say, oh, the penny's paying for it. Yeah, we're paying for part of it, but we've handed them a check, and the state's running that whole project. So, yeah, I'll give you my card, and you can give me a call later, and I could maybe point you in the right direction if you need some more assistance on that. Yeah. Do you have a timeline on that project, on the Hardscrabble? Another common question I get. Call the state. No. That project has been marred with a lot of delays. And a lot of that has to do with a lot of the utility relocation work, which is the bane of our existence on a lot of different road widening projects, particularly in areas that have been developed or people just forgot where the lines are. So that's really caused them a great delay. I believe, if I recall correctly, they were supposed to be done in 2021, but I think what you're going to see is they're going to put out a new date come in February or they're going to move that end date to the right somewhere. So I don't see it happening anytime soon next year. I mean, it's a mess, and it's definitely a challenge, and I'm glad they're doing it, not us. Sorry, it's just the fact of life. Yeah, I will say that the state does a pretty good interactive project map on their SCDOT site, where you can drill in and see where the projects are going on. And I'm not saying they're great with keeping the information updated, but at least they'll give you some left and right lateral limits for when to start and when they anticipate it being concluded or getting to a significant completion date. That'll be a nice project once it's done too. Anything else? I'll stick around for a little bit. If any other questions, I'll leave some cards here too. I really don't want to go back to the office, so I may hang out for a while longer here. Enjoy the windows. I don't have any in my office, but I really appreciate you allowing me to talk at you today. I know this is interesting. Some can be dry, and but again, I appreciate you and what you do for Blythewood, and y'all have a good morning.
Thank you.
Oh, thanks. Beer mug. I love beer mugs.
I think Jeff has already escaped, but Michael said he would hang around for a few more. Oh, you still there? Okay, great. So they're still around for people that have more questions. Some great information there. We do appreciate y'all taking the time to share that information with us. It's frustrating at both levels, we know, but I know here in Blythewood, we're all excited to see something happening, even if you're getting orange paint on your building or your sidewalk or your mailbox. But hopefully we'll all be around long enough to see this come to fruition and enjoy the improvements that we have in the future. Just real quick, I'm going to make some, you want to do a door prize? Okay. Just real quick, I want to go through some basic information here to share with you, since we're not going to see each other again for another month until after Christmas. Obviously, we still want to support our small businesses. I mean, it's a major function of our chamber to continue to support small businesses, especially in the light of the COVID impact that it's having on a number of small businesses. Please think about that each and every day. Our Shop Local program is doing pretty well. I'd like to mention that we had a great grand opening on Saturday for the general store with Scott Derrick, our B-man that opened up right there at the corner of 21 and Farrow Road in the little intersection. Wonderful entrepreneur. Please support that business if you can. It's a great place to find a gift for Christmas this time of year. So a lot of unusual gifts in there. And Scott's a wonderful entrepreneur, so please support him. We're continuing our advertising program with the merchants to shop local. His general store was highlighted in this last article in the paper. Let's see here. The Visitor's Guide will be coming out in January. We've edited that and sent everything to the printer. We've reformed the Downtown Merchants Committee. Mike Ross and James Reimer with Blythewood Feed have stepped up to handle that for us. We appreciate that, Mike. Thank you very much. Looking forward to upcoming events. Our annual awards gala banquet is being planned for February 6th. Yvette Pearson's handling that. She needs all the help she can get. So y'all please get in touch with her to help her with that. And then Mike's getting involved again with the second Doco Rib Fest. Cook-off in the park, that's in March. Not long after that, the Par 3 will be back, we hope, and just keep moving forward with our plans. Let's see. Phil, did you want to update people on the results of the Oktoberfest real quick? I think that's on here somewhere.
But it was another great success in spite of COVID and extra money we had to spend. And we made more money than we did last year. Obviously, with COVID, extra expense, you don't get all the targets that you want. But again, it's well worth it. And our third Oktoberfest is October 2nd. And Jasmine is lead on this as well.
Great. Sorry to announce that our Blythewood Christmas Parade has been canceled this year, but we did have the tree lighting on Sunday. And so if you're out and about when it gets dark early and you get a little sad, drive down here and look at these trees. They're beautiful. But thank y'all for coming. Appreciate it very much. We'll look forward to seeing you in January. Yes, sir.
Say, next month, January, we will not be meeting in February. In deference to our awards gala, but next month we want to focus on small business, and the concept is right now we want to have a panel discussion. So this coincide with our downtown merchants reformation. So we look forward to seeing you then, and Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.
Yes,
Stay
absolutely.
safe, stay away from COVID, hopefully the vaccine here soon.
All right. Thank you.